This is the mock paper, it's the higher one, and it's the calculator version. Question number 1. 5 kilograms of apples cost £7. 2 kilograms of apples and 3 kilograms of bananas cost £5.65. Work out the cost of 1 kilogram of bananas. Well, my workings are there, so you can just check it if you want. The answer is 95p. If you want to know how I got there, 5 kilograms of apples is £7. So 1 kilogram of apples is £1.40. So 2 kilograms of apples is £2.80. We're told here 2 kilograms of apples and 3 kilograms of bananas cost £5.65. So I've done £5.65, take away £2.80, so it leaves £2.85 for 3 kilograms of bananas. £2.85 divided by 3 is £0.95, or that would be 95p. Common mistake here is for people to put 0.95p. That would lose you a mark. Next question. Use your calculator to work out these sums here. Here you go. Right. First things first. Work out the top line. So it's 5,608.8. Work out the bottom line. It comes to that, take away that, which I've done here separately. Work that out on your calculator, and it comes to this. Write it all down. Write your answer to part A to 3 significant figures. 3 significant figures means it only wants 3 numbers, not including 0. It's a bit fiddly sometimes. This is quite a nice one. So you want the first 3 numbers. So it's 1, 5, and that's 7 rounds that 0 up to a 1. So it's 151,000. Question 3. Here's a scatter graph. This should be easy marks if you see it in the exam. What correlation does it show? It's negative because it's going down. Draw a line of best fit. Well, I've drawn it in there, you can see it. And Sarah has not got a maths mark. Her art mark is 23. What did she get for maths? So what you do here is, her art mark is 23. So go to art, go to 23, draw a cross, then come down, and I reckon the answer is 39. The mark scheme says accept any answer between 35 and 40. So as long as your line of best fit is anything sensible, you'll get that right. You must draw this line in. If you do not draw that in, you will lose the mark. Next question. Jasmine walked from her home to the park. Here is a travel graph for her journey. Okay, how long did she stop for? She stops here. So you need to notice it's going up in 10 minutes. So she stopped for 10 minutes there. Jasmine stayed at the park for half an hour. So we've got to complete this. There's my staying at the park for half an hour along there. She then walked home at a speed of 7.5 kilometres an hour. Well, I've noticed she's 5 kilometres away from home. So what I've done, if 7.5 kilometres is 1 hour, that means divided both by 3. There's 2.5 kilometres will be in 20 minutes. So 5 kilometres will be in 40 minutes. So you know she takes 40 minutes to get home. So 10, 20, 30, 40. So you connect it up there. So that is how you answer that one. Question number 5. Calculate the missing angle. You must show your workings on this. This is what I've tried to do. Let me talk you through it. Angle F is 53. So that angle there is 53 because it's an F angle or an alternate angle is what you should write. So that's 53. If that's 53, this angle here must be 127 because 180, that's how many degrees are along a straight line there. Take away 53 is 127. This angle here is 28 because it's an opposite angle. Look how I've labelled it, opposite angle. So this angle here must be 180, take away 127, take away 28, which equals 25 because there's 180 degrees in a triangle. Next question, solve this equation with unknowns on both sides. Here we go, I'll talk you through it, but the workings are there. First of all, I've subtracted 2 from both sides because I want to get rid of that number 2 there. So that leaves you with 5x equals 2x add 15. Take 2x off, leaves you with 3x equals 15. And then up here, I've divided both sides by 3 to get x on its own, so x equals 5. The one underneath, solve the inequality. This is exactly the same, only you've got to replace that inequality sign with an equal sign, which I've done. You've got to put it back at the end, mind. So multiply the brackets out, so that's 6y add 3 because you do 3 lots of 2y and 3 lots of 1. Take the 3 off, so you get 6y equals 7. Divide both sides by 6. I kept it as a fraction here, y equals 7 over 6, and replaced it with the inequality sign at the end. Some of my students put the answer down as a decimal. I'd leave it as a fraction because I think it looks much smarter. But I suppose you would get the answer if it was a decimal. But be a bit sensible. If it's a horrible number, leave it as a fraction. It doesn't say give it as a fraction or a decimal. Stem and leaf diagram, I'm not even going to talk my way through this. There it is. A couple of things here. This must be in order, which it is. If you look at mine, you must have a key. So you get 2 marks for getting this correct. You get 1 mark for the key. 3 marks for that question. I tick them off as I go, as you can see. But they're stem and leaf diagrams. Question 8. Tim is travelling home from holiday by plane. He buys some food and drink on the plane. And, make a list of what he buys. He buys 2 cheese rolls. So that's 2 lots of £3.50 there. So that's £7 he spends on cheese rolls. He buys 1 coffee and 1 orange juice. So he spends £11.70. That's how much he spends. He pays part of it with a €10 note and he pays the rest in pounds. How much does he pay in pounds? Well, you've got to look at the exchange rate here. So £1 equals 1.25 euros. So in total, it's £11.70 times 1.25 euros. So that gives you 14 euros 0.625. I'm not going to round here because I'm halfway through a question. I would normally call this 14 euros and 63 cents, but I'm going to do my rounding at the end. I'm going to take off the 10 euros he has, so that leaves you with 4.625 euros, and I go back to pounds by dividing by 1.25, so the answer is £3.70. There's the workings on it. Lovely, next one. Factorize fully. That means put into brackets. Let me give you one that's not factorized fully, and this is what some of my students did. They thought 6 and 12, 3 goes into that. So they went 3 lots of, it'd be 2y squared, add 4y. And they told me that this is factorized. Yes, it is factorized, but it's not factorized fully. So that is wrong. To factorize fully, you must put as much as you possibly can outside the brackets, and that is 6y in this case. Factorize this, because it's a quadratic, it goes into a double bracket. You've got to find out what 2 numbers multiply to make 30 and add up to make 13, and it is 3 and 10. So it's k add 3, k add 10. Next one, the diagram shows a cuboid. It's a square base of x times x, so that's the square base. The height is x add 4, which is there. The volume, so that's everything inside it, is 150 centimetres cubed. Show that x cubed add 4x squared is 150. Right, this is what I've done. The volume is the base times the depth times the height. So that's x times x add 4. To make this easier, I've called x times x squared. So it's x squared times the height. So here we go. So x squared times x is x cubed, or x to the power 3. X squared times 4 is 4x squared, because I'm multiplying out. And the volume is 150. So this is why x cubed add 4x squared equals 150. The bottom bit was a nice trial and error question. Here's my workings. Your work in the exam should be set out just as neatly as this. There's no excuse why it couldn't be. We're told the answer's between 4 and 5, so I've basically just gone for halfway. Started at 4.5 and eventually found out it was 4.3, because it was just slightly too high. 4.2 was too low, but 4.3 was closest. Question number 11. The table shows information about the numbers of hours 40 children watch television. Okay. Find out the class interval that contains the median. Median's the middle one. There's 40 of them. So which one is the 20th kid? So there's up to 3 kids in here. There's up to 11 kids in here, because you add them up. There's up to 18 kids in here. So the 20th child will be in this one here. So it will be in the 3 to 4 column. Basically, if you wrote out that 3 times, that 8 times, that 7 times, that 10 times, that 12 times, the middle one would be in that one, 3 to 4. The next one is work out an estimate for the mean number of hours. It says work out an estimate. You can't work it out exactly because you're not told the exact times here. So you've got to find the midpoints, which is what I've done here. Then you've got to multiply it by the frequency. So frequency times midpoint is here. Then you add them all up, you get 120. You've got to do 120 divided by 40 because there's 40 children involved in it. And the answer you should get is 3. That's a 4-mark question. It's well worth you being able to do those. Go back to the top and have another look if you'd like to check again. Next one, question 12, transformations. Translate the triangle above by 3 minus 2. No excuse to get this wrong. Translation is when you move it. So the top one goes across, either way. The bottom one goes up or down. So this one, 3 goes this way. So do each point. 1, 2, 3, and minus 2 means 2 down. So it goes to there. This one here goes across 3, 1, 2, 3, and down 2, so down to there. The top one, 1, 2, 3, and down 2 to there. Connects them up, shade it in, done. You don't have to shade it in. I've shaded it in so you can see it clearly on here. The one underneath, describe the single transformation that happens. It is a rotation of 180 degrees around point 0, or around the origin. You could have said rotation by a half, which is fine. Of course, you don't have to say which direction, because if it's a half, it'll be either direction. It ends up the same anyway. Let me just show this to you so you can see it's correct. Draw around triangle A. Here we go. I've said rotation around 0, which is there, by 180 degrees. That's half a turn. So quarter, half a turn, and it ends up there. So that's how you do that. 3 relatively nice marks. Next question, question 13. You've got a flower pot which is exactly in the shape of a cylinder. Fancy that. Basically, she's got a 15-litre bag of compost. How many can she fill? Yada yada. First thing you've got to do to start getting marks is work out the volume of this cylinder. Work out the area of the cross section, which is what I've done there. Again, I've not rounded because I'm halfway through the question. Then you multiply the area of the cross section. By the way, the cross section is this circle at the top. Because it's a prism, that's constant all the way through. The volume of the cylinder is when you multiply it by the height, so that is times it by 15, which is what I've done there. So let's zoom on these workings now. You've seen the shape. There we go. So the volume is that. You need to know that 1 litre is 1,000 centimetres cubed. So think of it like a little box you could make maybe in class. That's 10 by 10 by 10 centimetres. That would be 1 litre. That would hold 1 litre. So 1 litre is 1,000 centimetres cubed. So 15 litre is 15,000 centimetres cubed. So you do 15,000 divided by the volume, which is that, and it gives you 8.84. So it will fit 8 and a bit pots, but it says how many pots will it fill completely. So completely it'll only fill 8 pots. Next one. I've actually drawn this, but I'll describe what I've drawn. Here's a ladder, 6 metres long. I've labelled it ladder. It's placed on a horizontal ground. Here's my horizontal ground down here, resting against a vertical wall. Because the wall's vertical, I know that this is a right angle in there. The instructions for using the ladder say that the bottom of the ladder must not be closer than 1.5 metres from the bottom of the wall. So that's 1.5 metres. How far up the wall can the ladder reach? So we will need to find this distance here. It's a Pythagoras question. A squared of b squared is c squared. A and b I've labelled there and there. Points and c is the long side. There's my workings. Please work through that. The answer is 5.8 to 1 decimal place. Don't forget to give it to 1 decimal place. Next one. This is a reverse percentage question. Reverse percentages are quite tricky. In a sale, the normal prices are reduced by 20%. So the sale price of a coat is £52. What is a normal price? So because it's been reduced by 20%, £52 is actually 80% of the cost. Because it's been reduced from 100% by 20%, £52 is 80%. So what I've done is divided by 8, both sides, to get 10% of the total cost, then times it by 10 to get the full cost. So the original cost, or 100% of the cost, was £65. Question number 16. This is your basic B grade trigonometry question. Let's zoom out so you can see it. Right, first of all, I'm going to talk you through this. Label the sides up. So hypotenuse is the long one. There it is. Opposite is opposite the angle we're talking about, which is there. Adjacent is the other one. Now you need to circle the sides we're interested in, or the sides we know. Well, we know the adjacent, so I've circled that, and we're asked to find length BC. So we're interested in the opposite. So which one uses adjacent and opposite? Well, I remember it's that some old hags carry a huge tub of ale. So it's tan. Here's my workings for it. There you go. I hope you can still see the triangle as well to see where it came from. Tan 36, so tan the angle, equals the opposite, which is x, over the adjacent. So I want to get x on its own, so multiplied by 8.7, because x has been divided by 8.7. How do you undo divide by 8.7? You times by 8.7. So 8.7 times tan 36 is that. It says give the answer to 3 significant figures, so the answer is 6.32 to 3 significant figures. Next one, 17, drawing a cubic graph. First things first, let's fill out this stuff at the top. This is nasty, I think, but they do give you a lot of information. Y equals x cubed, takes 3x, take 3x, take 1. Right. I'm not going to do all of these, but x cubed, so 2, I'll zoom in on that by the way, in case you can't see it. There you go. Y equals x cubed, take 3x, take 1. So we're going to treat x over here as 2, because well, that's what it is. So 2 cubed is 8, 2 times 2 times 2. Take away 3 lots of 2, so 8 take away 6 is 2. Then take away 1 gives you 1. That one I needed a calculator for, but you do it the same way. I'll work out this last one, actually this last one was it. 0 cubed is 0, take away 3 lots of 0, well 0 take 0 is nothing, take away 1, so it's 1. I want to quickly show you this one. Minus 1 cubed is minus 1 times minus 1 times minus 1. So let me write that on top. Minus 1 times minus 1 times minus 1. That actually equals minus 1. Because minus 1 times minus 1 is 1, so up to there the answer is 1. But if you've got 1 times negative 1, you'll get negative 1. So first thing here, that y is negative 1. Take away 3 times minus 1, minus 3, then take 1. If you've got 2 minuses in here, let me zoom right in. 2 minuses here make a plus. So you've really got minus 1, add 3, take 1. So minus 1, add 3 is 2, take, sorry that should be 1. So minus 1, add 3 is 2, take 1, gives you 1. So that's how you get that. A lot of people struggle with that. But if you got it wrong, by the time you draw the others, you should see roughly where it goes, because this is what the graph looks like. You must plot the points, not with a ruler, but with a nice gentle curve. Please look at all of my points. My curve goes exactly through them, and yours must go exactly through it as well. Don't miss any of them. Don't feather, which is when girls do this when they're drawing. Don't do this business when you're drawing your line. Alright? Because that's not accurate. Because where's your line going? There's actually 2 lines there. So don't do that when you do it. Just do it with a nice straight line that the mark scheme says it must go through every point and follow the general trend. That's what mine does. Use your graph to estimate the solution to the equation x cubed take 3x take 1. All you do for this is work out where the line crosses the x-axis here, here and here. So let's zoom in. So the answer is x is minus 1.5 roughly there, minus 0.3 roughly there, and 1.8 roughly there. So there are your answers for that one, and they're down the bottom. Next one, question 18. Probability tree, relatively simple. Fill it in, you get 2 marks. So that's 9/10, that must be 1/10. That's 2/5, that's 3/5, and so on. Keep going down. So you get 2 marks for that. Probability that Hannah wins both matches. Right, a win and a win is up here. So it is 9 out of 10 multiplied by 2 out of 5, which is 18 over 50. A lot of people add, but remember you multiply when you go across, and then you can add as you come down if you need to. It might have said find out the probability that Hannah wins 1 game only, in which case you would have had to work out this one and this one, then add them up. But in this case you've got the nice easy one that it's only one of them. So 18 out of 50. When I marked it, a lot of people simplified it to 9 out of 25, which is fine. So either of those answers will get you the marks. It does not specify to simplify, so you can leave it as 18 over 50. But 9 out of 25 is also good. Okay, next one. This is not too bad. What I've done, I've just drawn some lines on a graph. That's an inequality sign, but I'm going to pretend it means equals. So y equals minus 4, that is my line there for y equals minus 4. Okay? Next one, x equals 2, so I've drawn my line on there for x equals 2 and I've labelled it. Y equals 2x add 1, I've worked out that this is the line. The way I've done it is, I thought if x was 0, then y equals 2 lots of 0 is 0, add 1, so it'll go through there. If x is 1, 2 lots of 1 is 2, add 1 gives you 3. So that's how I've done it, and I've drawn it. Shade the grid, shade the region on that satisfies all of these three inequalities. It's always the bit in the middle. So there you go, just shade it in. Even if you're not happy with what I've done there, just draw a couple of the lines on and you'll pick some marks up for it. But if you get to the stage where you can shade it in, just shade it in. Question 20, standard form. Here we go. Write this number in standard form. Let me zoom in right in so I can show you what I've done. It's a small number, so it's going to be times 10 to the minus something. And the decimal point goes 4 spaces that way. So it's 3.7 times 10 to the minus 4. Next one, as an ordinary number, what you do, 8.25 and to the power 3. So it goes once, twice, 3 times. So you need to put a point in there. So that would be 8,250. And the bottom one here is a bit nasty. What I did was did 2.1 times 6, which is 12.3. And I've done 10 to the power 8 times 10 to the minus 5, because index laws here means we just have to add them. So that gives you minus 3. So you end up with, very sorry, this should be 12.6, shouldn't it? Change that. 12.6 times 10 to the minus 3. Number in index form must be between 1 and 9.9. So you've got to move the decimal point 1 space that way, which gives you 1.26 times 10 to the power 4. That's how you get that. Okay, bounds is the next one. The length of a rectangle is 30 centimetres, correct to 2 significant figures, and the width is 18, correct to 2 significant figures. Write down the upper bound of the width. So to correct to 2 significant figures, that could mean it could go down as far as 17.5 or up to 18.5. A lot of people put 18.499999 recurring. Just put 18.5. If you want to be sure, put up to 18.5. It's probably a better answer. Calculate the upper bound for the area. So we want the upper bound of both of them. So the 18.5 is the upper bound for the width, and 30.5 is the upper bound for the length. Multiply them out. There you go. It's £564.25. Next one, volume of shapes. There you go. You've got to work out the volume of this. It's made up of a cone and a hemisphere, which is a semicircle. You need to remember that the formulas for the area of these are in the front of the exam paper. I'll quickly show you. There you go. Volume of cone is there, and volume of sphere is there. Of course, the volume of sphere you've got to divide by 2 because it's a hemisphere you've got. But we'll get into that. Right, volume of the cone. Volume of a cone is a third times pi times r squared times h. A lot of people struggle with what the height was. Let's zoom in and see why. A lot of people use 22. The cone isn't 22 centimetres high. It's 15 centimetres high, because this radius here of 7 also goes from here down to here, because it's a sphere or a hemisphere. So that's also 7 centimetres. So you do 22, take away the 7, gives you a height of 15. So that I basically plugged it in here. So a third times pi times 7 squared, because that's the radius of the base, times 15 gives you that. That's the volume of the cone. Volume of the hemisphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Plug your numbers in. Don't forget to half it, because it's a hemisphere, and you end up with this. Add the 2 numbers up, and there's the rest of the workings. It does say give your answer correct to 3 significant figures, so it's 1,400, and this will round up to 90. So 1,490 centimetres cubed. I thought, to be honest, for 3 marks, that's a little bit stingy, but it's basically getting the formulas and substituting. So you should be okay there. Question 23, next one. Histogram. Before you do any histogram question, you have to know the formula for frequency density, which is frequency divided by class width. Because up on this axis here, this is where your frequency density goes. So we're going to calculate our frequency densities over here. So here we go. Frequency divided by class width. Frequency is 8, class width is a half. So 8 divided by half is 16. Next one. Frequency is 7 divided by half is 14. Next one. Frequency is 11 divided by 1, because that's the class width, is 11. And the next one, 9 divided by 2, because that's the class width, gives you 4.5. 16 is the highest on my frequency density, so I have to go up to 16 here, and I've made myself a nice scale. So between 0.5 it went up to 16, 0.5 up to 16, and so on. That's what it should look like at the end of the day. I'll leave all that there so you can have a quick look at it. I don't know if you can see that. I'll zoom into this again. There you go. So that's where the interesting part of this question is. That's what. Question 24. This one is really nasty, but you are given a bit of information in the question that is not shown on the diagram, which to be honest is quite unusual. It says here that dB is 240 metres. So I've drawn on that line dB, which is 240 metres. I hope you can see that. First things first, have a bit of a play with it. See what you can do. Look at the triangles separately and see what you can find out from them. There's various bits of information here. So first thing I wanted to do was find out these angles here, because we're going to find out the area of each triangle, then we're going to add them up together. So step 1, work out angle X. Here we go. So I've used sine A over A equals sine B over B equals sine C over C. So that rule there, that's in the front of your exam paper. There you go, the sine rule there. It is worth noting I have inverted it. So instead of A over sine A, I've done sine A over A equals B, sine B over B equals sine C over C, which we're allowed to do, which makes it still work. Okay, I've used right, A, what do I know? Here we go. Right, I know this angle here, and I know this length. So I'm going to use these two here. So sine 85 over 240. Sine 85 over 240 equals a sine x, which we don't know, because it's x there, over 68. So I'm using the this rule here. So work through. You want to get sine x on its own. So it's been divided by sine 68. So the opposite of divide... Sorry, it's been divided by 68, so the opposite of divide by 68 is multiply by 68, so that's what I've done here. But because you're finding out the angle, you've got to use the shift function when you do it, so you end up with 16.39. There's the maths for that, and that's the angle that goes in at the top. It's worth noting, once you've worked that angle out, you can also work this angle out by doing this, and you can work this angle out here by doing this. So that is step 1. You get a couple of marks for that, if not 3. Next one, the area of, step 2, the area of the top triangle. Well, this is in the front of your exam book. Area of a triangle is a half AB sine C. So area of the top triangle here. I'll keep flashing back to it, but it's a half times A, which was 240, times B, which is 68, times sine C, which is 78.61. It's not labelled as such. I could have labelled it, but I'm treating this as side A now. I'm treating this as side B. I'm treating this as side C. So this is why this is angle C here. That comes to that number there. Job done. Bottom one, done exactly the same thing. There's the maths. There's the triangle. Pause it if you're not sure where the stuff comes from. End of the day, add them up. So I'll show you the workings for that a bit longer. There you go. Pause if you want. Step 4, add them up. There you go. It does say give the answer to 3 significant figures, so that's why it is 17,900. Nasty question that. There's quite a lot of workings to it, but you should be able to at least pick some marks up from it. Just go back through any part of that question and pause it if you want another explanation. Right, next one. I'm going to go through this one quite quickly. Right, what happens here? This is... the diagram shows part of a curve with the equation y equals a function of x. Okay, it tells you the minimum point of this curve is the point 3, 1, which is fine. So write down the coordinates to the minimum point with this equation. So if it's the function of x add 3, that means it goes up 3. So it shifts, the whole thing shifts up 3, so that's why the coordinates is 3, 4, because across 3, up 4. Next one, it does the opposite of there, so it's inside the bracket, say minus 2, it shifts to the right 2, so that's why it's 5, 1. And the bottom one, I don't think it does anything, because all it does, it makes it a little bit, it changes the shape of it, but I still think the point goes through there at the bottom. I'm saying I think on this, because the mark scheme said the answer was 6, 1, so if you think the answer is 6, 1 and you can explain to me why, please put it in the comment section, but I'm fairly certain it still goes through the same point, 3, 1. Last question, there's quite a lot to this, here we go. It's a 6-sided shape, measurements are in centimetres, the area is 102, work out the side of the longest shape. Well, first things first, let's start, it blatantly wants you to sort out in algebra how big it is and get an expression. So this bottom bit is 2x times x add 4, which is 2x squared add 8x, which I've shown in that box. This one here, the reason the top is 4x take 3, which is there. This is x add 1, because look, it's the whole lot, so 2x add 5, which is all that, take away x add 4. So that will give you x add 1, because don't forget you're taking away everything inside the brackets. So it's 2x take x, which is x, 5 take away 4, which is 1, so x add 1. So you do 4x take 3 times x add 1, multiply the brackets out, here you go. I've done the smiley face method, come back inside the brackets and I've simplified it to 4x squared add x take 3. We're going to add it all up now, so we're going to do this top bit, this bit here, add this bit here, which I've done here, equals 102, and I've simplified it a bit, so I'm going away from up there now, is my working. So 4x squared and 2x squared is 6x squared, you've got your, how many x's? You've got 1x there, and you've got 8x there, so it's 9x, and you've got negative 3 equals 102. You've got to solve this for what x is, so I want it to be equal to 0, so I've taken 102 off both sides, and I get left with this. Now there's two methods here. I was talking about this method. This method's quicker, but it's probably a bit harder. You might be able to notice that everything in this is a multiple of 3. So what we can do is what we call divide through by 3. So I'm going to divide that by 3, that by 3, that by 3, and that by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 105 divided by 3 is 35, 0 divided by 3 is still 0. When you get to this stage, some of you, if you can factorise a quadratic with a coefficient of x squared, can factorise it into this, so then work out that x is either 3.5, because you want one of these brackets to be 0. So if x is 3.5, two lots of 3.5 is 7, 7 takes 7 is 0, or x is minus 5. It actually turns out you only want x to be 3.5, because the length can't be negative. Or if you don't like that, because it's a bit nasty, you can just put it into the quadratic formula. I'm not going to talk you through this, but that's A, that's B, that's C. Note the negative on C. There you go. I put it through and I've worked it out. I've only worked out the positive value because you can't have a negative length. So if you would have done the 9 take away all this rubbish, you would have got x equals minus 5. Not fussed about that. So x equals 3.5. The longest side, as it turned out, was this side here, which is 2x add 5. So what I've done is 2 lots of 3.5 is 7, add 5 gives you 12. So the answer to that for 6 marks is 12. But with a question like this, there is so much to it, and that, I know I've worked out 2 different methods, but there's still a lot of workings. Just get down what you know. And if it's talking about area, start multiplying the sides up. That's the end of the exam paper. The the grade boundaries should flash up on the screen now. If not, they will start doing soon. I hope you did well.